Hey, what's going on, guys? Sincere here with whoissincere.com and the All Rights Matter show. I want to come to you with a story about Bill de Blasio, New York City mayor. He's urging residents not to eat Chick-fil-A due to anti-LGBT policies. Now, if you guys remember before, this happened not too long ago, I believe a couple years ago, to Chick-fil-A, an LGBT group decided that, Chick-fil-A is a Christian company, so they would, attack this Christian company and try to bring them down pretty much as far as being a hate company. So fast forward a couple of years later, and now we have Bill de Blasio actually following the rhetoric from a couple years ago from the LGBT community, the supporters that wanted to actually do harm to this otherwise great company. So this is the issue. I'm reading the comments here, and what I'd like to actually share with you guys is the backlash that Bill is actually getting because of this. Now, if we look at the backlash and we pay attention to what the people are actually saying, I mean, it's people just don't agree with what Bill de Blasio is saying. He's already under investigation for corruption, and and everybody already understands what Chick-fil-A's position is as a company. Everybody knows that Chick-fil-A is a Christian-based company and that their policies follow those guidelines. They don't promote it to their customers. They don't, try to hand a pamphlet out to every customer that comes in the door. But if you ask them about, the policies of the CEO and what he adheres to, they'll let you know openly. So if you just read some of these comments, I mean, it's hilarious how, I guess maybe, he has something going on with this corruption situation. So he figures, oh, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll take the spotlight off of that and I'll align with these people and, try to start a war up with Chick-fil-A. And it's backfiring. I mean, it's backfiring. This guy actually here, Peter Burns, he actually had a great point here. Let me say. Okay. Number 3, de Blasio and his ilk, by calling for a boycott of Chick-fil-A, are stating that simply having religious beliefs which disagree with the left's militant constituency is bad. In other words, disagreement with the far left is hate. If you are not allowed to think differently, then they do. You are not allowed to think differently than they do. So, I mean, that's what we're kind of talking about here. And then in point 4, he goes on here how it's, it's an attack on religious freedoms. And I happen to agree with that young man's comment here. And it's true, It seems like there's this far left conspiracy, and my friends in the LGBT community, love you guys as, brothers and sisters, but we have to be realistic about what's going on and what the government is doing. And we can use Bill de Blasio as a clear example of the policies that are being pushed by these far left criminals, you might as well call it. There's really no way else to really put it. So what they're doing is they're taking the LGBT community and they're saying, okay, LGBT community, what we'll do is we'll give you everything that you want, but we'll give you everything that you bargained for and plus some. So Obama was very blunt when he told that particular community, hey, this is how we're going to take care of you during my presidency, and we're going to make sure that he said, I'm going to make sure that I'm the biggest champion for you. That's exactly what he told the LGBT community, and he has upheld that promise since he has been in office. There has been no president that has done as much for the LGBT community as Barack Obama. Okay? So, let's cover that. Why do you think he's doing so much for the LGBT community? Because he genuinely loves the LGBT community? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a way to get votes, and it's also a way to, go ahead and sit down if you're not sitting down, because what I'm going to say is going to shock you. But it's also a way for population control. Okay? So now you came to this video to watch about Bill de Blasio. Now I'm going to tell you about what's really going on with these far left liberals that, are just crazy like this. So, I would align more with liberal policies because that's how, that's kind of how I think as far as liberal policies. But I also have the rootedness of, if that's a word, of the Republican Party as far as how they look at the Constitution. So let's get back to my point, though. What you see happening right now is literally an assault, okay? It's literally an assault on the LGBT community. And it's an assault from the stance that you don't even know that it's happening. It's happening because they're able to push policies and positions onto the American people while diluting the Constitution. The Constitution is directly tied to God, in case you have not figured that out, okay? It's directly tied to God. Your rights are in the Constitution. There are no laws in the Constitution. Your rights are in the Constitution. That's why the Republican Party is being destroyed right now. This is all a plan. This is not something that, this just accidentally happened. The Republican Party is being destroyed for that very reason right now. They have to get rid of this Constitution. They have to get rid of your God-given rights. So what do? They use a group of people who inherently don't value religious beliefs. There's not too many gay people that you will come across, especially people that are, that have already come out the closet, they're in the open. You're not going to find a whole ton of gay people, the majority of gay people holding godly traditional godly religious beliefs. It's just not going to happen. So with that being said, it's very easy to take that group of people, which would be the disenfranchised, and to utilize them for your efforts and your political positioning. And that's exactly what's being done. But it gets sicker, okay? It's not just about politics. It goes a lot deeper. So you go back to population control. There's something that most gay people can't do, and that's have a baby. And people say, to me, well, that's not true, son. They can, have kids, they can adopt, and there's plenty of options that are out there. But that's my point. Without natural birth, that means the natural process has been broken down. And that's what eugenics is about. That's what this whole plan of power and control from the elite is about. The natural process being broken down. They want to control the natural process. The best way to be able to do that is through organizations like Planned Parenthood and through getting behind movements like the LGBT community and that kind of movement, and saying, hey, well, you know what? We're going to minimize the births. The folks in the LGBT community can have babies, but you're going to go through a very expensive process where you're going to be spending their capital, you're going to be spending that money to have a child, okay? And it's not going to be natural. There's no way that two men could do it naturally. There's no way that two women could do it naturally. So at the end of the day, it is a cause that eventually kills itself off. I hate to word it that way, okay? And like I said, I love my lesbian and gay friends. I really do. And I have, God knows I have plenty of good lesbian and gay friends that are good people. But the fact that they're being exploited, that's a whole nother issue. Okay, this is what's happening right now. So what happens in 10 years from now? We're dealing with the bathroom laws and all that stuff. So what we're doing is we're watering down all the rules and boundaries of what a culture it normally is. If you look around the world, every culture around the world has their rules, guidelines, and boundaries. Some of them are a little bit harsh and too much, and others, are too lenient. So we're headed towards a society where it's more lenient towards the far left liberals, and then that way the narrative is controlled by one group of people. And that's what we're seeing happening right now. One party being destroyed and another party being completely empowered. Okay? So this is not an accident, guys. None of this is an accident. None of this is just this just happened to happen. No, guys, this is a lot of planning. This is, this is the reason for Masonry and different secret societies that are out there, so they can plan these things out. so they can decide how the media is going to be a super PAC for Trump. Okay, none of this is an accident, and that's what I'm here to actually let you know. All right, don't believe a lot of this media stuff that you see, but I thought it was a good point, not to take you guys any deeper, but that's what's going on right now. Your government and the elite are exploiting the LGBT community. They know that it's a cause in its end that is, it's very effective for population control, and they also know the money factor of what's going to happen with this in vitro boom within the next 10 years. Okay, you can look this up if you want. Genomics is the biggest thing that's going right now. Okay, genomics, go ahead and look it up, and genomics is the biggest thing that's going, because you're going to be able to customize your kid here soon. You can do it now for the very rich, but for the average guy and the average girl, you'll be able to customize your child. So they need this revolution to push the next level of technology, and that feeds into a whole nother story that I won't get into. Okay? So I'm giving you the plans of what these people are doing. I'm not telling you this from a place of hate that I don't like LGBT people or none of that, because that's absolutely false. But I'm telling you what's happening because it's really the truth of what's happening now. You can keep sitting around and act like these far left liberals aren't taking over your constitution, your government, and taking over your country. You can keep acting like that, but it's the honest to God truth. It's just the truth. Okay? So people ask me all the time, hey, well, how do you feel about, the LGBT community? Do you support it? And I tell them, I said, I don't support gay rights, because there's nowhere in the Constitution where there was a separate set of rights for anybody. Okay? So at the end of the day, we all should have the same rights. And when we start getting into divisive language like gay rights, it sets a new tone. It sets a new atmosphere. It sets a group apart from, and that's exactly the opposite of the solidarity and the unity that is needed in this country. And the controllers, the elite, they are not dumb to this. That's why they are doing it. Okay, they know what they're doing. Gay rights wasn't a term that just popped up because somebody felt froggy one morning. All of these things have analytical implications. All of these things are measured. Okay? All of these things are thought out. There are many consultants and people that work at planning out these social movements. Okay? So you need to understand what you see happening before your eyes. This country is being changed. And, I'll say it, but I don't think it'll happen. But LGBT people that are out there, stand up to the government. You see what they're doing. You see that they're infiltrating your community. You see that the billionaires are giving money to the LGBT communities so that they can go out here and cause the wrong kind of chaos, to take their eyes off the prize as far as our corrupt financial system and so many other ailments that we have in our society that aren't being addressed. This is an overthrow, okay? And your resources and your attention have been diverted to subjects that should really not have as much attention as they have. There's not anybody, especially now, going around this country anymore just knocking off LGBT people left and right every day. We have more police in America that kill unarmed people than that. And we don't address that issue at all. Okay? So, realize that your attention and resources are being diverted. Realize why. And realize that you may see your paycheck coming this week, and that may be the depth of your vision. The depth of the vision of the controllers, of the elite, is 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. And they're planning for it yesterday. Okay? Now, unless you can say that you're doing that level of planning with that amount of resources, I would suggest that you go ahead and have a seat, sit down, and crack a book open, crack your laptop lid open, and get some reading done. Because there's a lot going on out here right now, and I'm telling you guys, these people are not playing. They are not playing games, okay? So it's good to see for once, in a long time, that people are actually standing up for an organization that has tremendous value in the community. I was actually watching the owner of Chick-fil-A. He actually lives out here from where I'm at in Chattanooga here in Tennessee. And he was actually here on our local news on WRCB here a few months ago. They have the cows, the Chick-fil-A cows that they put up around town here, around the billboards. And I was listening to the man talking, pretty much just talk about his company and his beliefs. And you could tell he's a very sensible man that has no hatred in his heart and just is really proud of his employees, his company, and really proud to be an American citizen. And I believe that when we start demonizing people for their values and beliefs and who they want to be as people, especially when that who they want to be does not interfere with our liberty, with our freedom, when we start doing that to people, that's when we start letting our country slip away. And the elite used to do it to us, and now we're doing it to each other. And that's the sad part. So I need my LGBT community to understand that you cannot place a double standard on people. You cannot let the government force you to place a double standard on people. That it's not supposed to work that way. If you don't want to be demonized and ostracized for your beliefs, for your views, for the way you want to live your life, then make sure that you don't do it to other people. Make sure that representatives, of the government don't try to come on your behalf and do that to other people. Call those people out and say, hey, that's not the way that we view the situation. Chick-fil-A is cool with us. That man's allowed to have his religious beliefs. We have our beliefs. We're still cool. He ain't said nothing bad about us. We ain't gonna say nothing bad about him. Whatever happened to that America? See, that's the problem with the government pushing the far left agenda, is they've taken liberty out of it. So now nobody has the liberty to feel how they feel as long as it's not harming anyone else. Now, based on just how you feel and based on maybe whatever your religious preference is, you will be demonized, and maybe the head of a state or the head of a city can come out and say, boycott a business that is bringing plenty of revenue to a city. I mean, we're talking about a company that doesn't have tax havens. Chick-fil-A is not running around with tax havens. Why would you tell a company that's so profitable and that's so community-oriented why would you tell your people in your community to boycott their facilities? That's absolute silliness. So Mayor Bill de Blasio should probably go sit his sorry ass down somewhere. He's a sorry ass politician. He's just a loser, and New York is... their government in New York is filled with losers. Some great people in New York, wonderful people in New York. The government in New York and all of that, man, it's just filled with a lot of corrupt losers who are only in it for the money, Hillary's buddies, if you will. So that's my take on it. If you're not down with the libertarian movement, and I would have said that would have been on the Republican side, but you guys don't have anybody left over there. But there's a libertarian movement happening on the Democratic side. Maybe you don't like socialistic views or anything like that, but you probably are a Republican that supports the military, so you do support socialism. So get with the program. Bernie Sanders on the left-hand side. He's not far left. He's not one of these people that's going to shove agendas down your throat. But he's more or less a person that believes in liberty, and if you have a certain belief, then that's your certain belief, and you should be allowed to have that and entitled to have that, as long as it's not harming another human being and you're not causing hate and division. That kind of stuff is not necessary. Bernie Sanders isn't gay, but he supports the efforts of those that don't want to be judged for being gay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm okay with that. But when we start pushing agendas that could possibly put children in a harmful position, and then we act like that's not the case at all, we act like we just have complete ignorance to the fact that there are people that don't think logically and don't give two fucks about our kids. Excuse my language. But that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of people that are pushing an agenda and acting like that what people are saying is not logical truth, is not simple fact. Okay, you got to be careful of what's going on right now. And don't put our kids in a terrible situation. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. It's getting out of control. We already have enough going on with bullying in the schools. What's going to happen now with bullying in the bathrooms? Okay? So, what are we talking about when we talk about the sexual predators? We already got peeping toms walking around sticking cameras and, cameras up female skirts in public places in the broad daylight. What do you think they're going to do in bathrooms? All right? So, America, get back to common sense. We can all live together. All rights do matter, but we all have the same rights, and it's very important to realize that. We have the same rights. I'm not far left. I'm not far right. I'm right in the middle. But I'm trying to get everyone to understand that all of our rights matter, and they're not different rights. The laws are what is corrupt and messed up. And we can start talking about the Bar Association. We can start talking about Bilderberg. Whatever you want to talk about. There's a lot of corruption out there. But what we have to do is get back to solidarity and unity on the lower levels so that we can amass our power to face, this corrupt enemy. That's all we have to do, guys. It's about withdrawing from the system and about group economics. And we'll talk more about that later. All right, guys. That's my spill. Hope you enjoyed hearing me talk and run my mouth, but that's how I feel about the whole situation. And like I said, don't come on my YouTube LGBT community with crazy threats and that I'm hating and all this other. I'm not. Don't even go there with it. I just don't have the same belief system. I don't think in the same way that you do, and that's perfectly okay, because you don't think it's okay to be straight, or you're not okay with being straight, and I'm okay with you feeling that way. I don't feel like you hate me because you want to be gay. So I think that we have to stop doing that to each other. We have to stop getting in these exclusive groups. So as always, guys, I'm going to keep bringing you the real. I'm going to start saying a lot of things, guys. So make sure, if you're listening to this for the first time, subscribe, because I'm about to let the cat out the bag on a lot of issues. Today, it was just letting you know what they're doing through the LGBT community and what their process and what their goals are going to be for the next 10 to 15 years. That's why Obama has placed in his plan, in his Obamacare plan, for the funding for Obamacare to quadruple for the next 9 years. But I bet you didn't know that. Okay? Watch what you see about to happen, guys. There's going to be a major push in genomics and also in biotechnology and RFID. I'm letting you know that right now, and I'm giving you the heads up. And the litmus test and the testing group has been the homosexual community. That's who they've been exploiting for the last 7 going on 8 years, and that's who they're going to use to usher in the new changes, because that's who's most in line with the far left liberal policies. That's my spill on it. That's how the LGBT community is being used, and Bill de Blasio is an asshole.